Hey everybody, welcome back to Chicago Reacts with your two favorite actors, Zach and
Michael. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming back to the channel. We are doing some more React videos for you today. We are checking out the story of Kony2012 by Internet Historian. Doing another Internet Historian video.
he's on a roll.
Yeah, we really like these videos, diving into stuff that I haven't been aware of. Though I do remember, I have heard of Kony2012, so I'm interested to learn more and see what this is. So let's.
I'm actually super excited because this was like a big deal back in high school. I was a junior in high school when this was going on,
but I'm sure I do not know the entirety of it. Hey, if you're liking our other React content, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment in the comment section down below.
Yeah, let us know what you'd like to see next time, and yeah, feel free to comment your stories on the Kony2012 days as we watch the video. So
Let's do it.
Ready?
Yeah.
Stop at nothing.
Kony2012 is the story of a man, Jason Russell, and his relentless quest to stop Ugandan warlord, Joseph Kony. Let's begin where the action started. On March 5th, 2012, a charity called Invisible Children published a high-production video called Kony2012. It was an awareness campaign seeking to mobilize action to capture or kill Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony.
And the goal of the story was to make Kony famous.
30 minutes long, it really tried to pull at your heartstrings.
At the end of my life, I want to say that the world we've left behind is one that Gavin can be proud of. A place that doesn't allow Joseph Konys and child soldiers.
And little Gavin would have been proud, because it took off like no video on YouTube ever had.
I love the overlay.
500,000 views in the whole year of 2012. We got
amazing.
500,000 views in the first 3 hours.
It received
way!
100 million
3
views in the
hours?
first 6 days. 1.4 million likes. Click that link in the description below. They clicked it so hard the website went down, and their email was so inundated that the service provider assumed it was an attack and temporarily pulled the plug.
That's how this video is gonna
The
be.
most viral video ever. It raised the charity over $20 million.
Amazing.
Whoa.
People really went fucking bananas for this video and those Ugandan kids. 4 million hashtags. People changed their Facebook profiles, so you knew it was a big deal. A fan-made mobile game. Are you woke about Joseph Kony?
Mobile game?
Yeah, but are you woke enough to get a tattoo? People were up for pretty much anything to stop Kony,
I did not get a tattoo, and I did not play the mobile game.
1 like equals 1 saved child. But who is Joseph Kony and what's all the fuss? Well, he's the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA.
My God, you're greasy.
And he really is one of the most evil people living today. Imagine the worst crime you can think of committing, and he would have done it thousands of times.
What a great
over.
cut.
Takes children, makes them kill their parents and eat their parents.
The surviving girls would be kept as sex slaves, and the boys conscripted into the LRA as child soldiers.
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
It's all part of a civil conflict that's been going on for 30 years. We'll get into the details later, but for
Sid
now,
Meier's
consider this our one bad guy. And here's our protagonist, Jason Russell, the figurehead of Kony2012 and Invisible Children.
Oh my God.
He's a devout Christian, stereotypically Californian,
I do consider myself a refined valley dude.
but he has a bad boy side too.
Oh.
So it all starts in 2003 when, as a naive and aspiring filmmaker, he goes to Uganda with 2 friends in search of a story. While driving through a rural village,
A car was shot in front of us by a rebel army who was led by a guy named Joseph Kony.
they drive to a city for safety and find this. Turns out it's part of a nightly routine. Kids live in the villages, but commute to the city to sleep there to avoid being kidnapped in midnight raids by the LRA.
Thousands and thousands of kids without an adult in sight.
Jason had found his story. And a cause. It must have made a real impression on him, because for the next 10 years he dedicated himself almost exclusively
that long blonde
to trying
hair.
to improve things
Dude,
in Uganda by
dude,
stopping
not-
Kony. Kony 2012 was a
Man.
culmination, but in the preceding years he tried a bunch of other schemes. This,
The bracelet campaign.
this,
Twice daily broadcast about where the LRA is and where they're active.
and this.
Do what we always do. Dance.
This is all real.
What is this?
We're on a mission, put Uganda deep inside your mind.
I'm sorry we didn't react to this.
Was this when like High School Musical came out? Because I'm getting High School Musical vibes from this. Oh man,
I did not think coming to the studio today that we would.
I did not prepare myself for
Oh
this.
my god.
Oh, here we go.
We gotta shake it up and break it up and let the war without a gun.
Naturally, questions have been raised about his sexual orientation.
All these other rumors too that you were gay.
Yeah, I've heard those rumors. Yeah. My parents started a large children's theater organization, so I am
Theatrical.
theatrical.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Straight men are allowed to enjoy musicals its current year. Back to Kony 2012. So the video lays out a plan called Cover the Night. Here's what you do. Pay $30 for your super special Kony action kit. Whoa, that's nice. In the kit you'll find 5 items. Button, bracelet, stickers, shirt, and these posters. Then, on April 20th, in the dead of night, go out and vandalize your town with awareness.
And wake up to hundreds of thousands of posters demanding justice on every corner.
It was going to be amazing. Everyone was on board. The countdown to April 20th.
That's actually brilliant. Can
yeah.
we? That's absolutely brilliant. To spread the word about anything, but
I mean, the marketing clearly worked.
yeah.
Well, I assume that's what we're gonna see happen, though maybe not.
So if you guys send Mike and I $20, we'll send you headshots of us, and then you could just post our headshots all over Chicago.
maybe we'll do that. Maybe not.
maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah,
It's.
I mean, he had some failed attempts, but he eventually clicked. So
Yeah, it is kind of amazing that he went from the High School Musical style disaster to arguably one of the most brilliant marketing campaigns ever done. So
Yeah, for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, wow, big step up in the game. He is fully evolved.
Had begun. And all Jason and Co. had to do was keep the momentum going and not fuck it up.
Way to move the world to action.
But this movie is not without critics.
Critics say the film manipulates the facts.
Simplifying the story.
Oversimplifying a wildly complex issue.
Message is too late. Joseph Kony and his forces have been significantly reduced. Pro-war activism. Utterly naive to
By
think
next week, this will be a passing fad.
These white Westerners sort of getting on a bandwagon, and actually they haven't got a clue what they're talking about.
It's
A
actually
day or
true.
two later, the heady excitement gave way to more down-to-earth analysis. Media commentators started making scathing critiques of the video, and testimony from Uganda wasn't entirely positive either.
It's unfortunate that we can have people who are merchandising but using people's problems.
Then it got really serious. Teenage girls started weighing in.
Kony, so I asked my mom, and my mom laughs and goes, he died like 5 years ago.
This is wrong, by the way, but it was seen by 4 million people. From a source of my mum said it, so it must be true. The term slacktivism started cropping up more and more. Legitimate questions were asked. How will the money donated be spent?
That invisible children would send would have to go to the Ugandan military.
Why did you put your son in the film?
You know, why would you put your son in the film? You know, why did you put yourself in the film? Those questions about our sincerity.
Why are they saying Kony is in Uganda when he's actually in the Central African Republic? Invisible Children wasn't popular among other charities either. They were hogging the limelight. And they released Kony2012 just 2 days before International Women's Day, a critical fundraising time for some. Even the Ugandan Prime Minister took a few jabs.
We do not need a sleek video on YouTube for us to take notice.
Once people started
That was an
feeling
awesome
misled,
voice
they
by
turned
that
against the organization
Prime
and
Minister.
squared
That
the
was
blame on one person. The pressure was building. Online backlash and a hectic schedule was starting to take a toll.
My phone was getting 10 text messages every second. It was just...
Millions of supporters on one side, millions of critics on the other.
On and on and on.
Make Kony famous? Well, it made Jason famous too. And the pressure kept increasing. He was flying all over the country to spread his message,
Took the red eye to New York, landed at 5 in the morning.
working around the clock.
On the Today Show, People Magazine, Reuters. By day 3, I was in LA doing interview after interview after interview. 17 interviews in 48 hours. Wow. So
He was sleeping less and becoming
That
more
sounds
erratic.
awful.
not being able to sleep, not being able to stop my racing mind.
Criticism from every direction.
Then it was like, you're the worst. You're terrible. And Kony's dead.
They started saying the whole project was for his ego, or based on greed. And not just criticism, responsibility. How are you going to stop children from being murdered, Jason? You promised a solution, Jason. When are you going to deliver Kony?
At the end of that day, my mind was exhausted.
To release the pressure, he and his family tried to take a couple of days off by going to Palm Springs. But people recognized him there too, so they hid away in their hotel room with the curtains closed. Jason was starting to crack. Paranoia, delusions of grandeur.
He's not.
He went with his
used
family
to
to
that
see
kind
the
of
law
attention.
agent,
That
and he thought the
messed me
film was
up.
speaking to him directly. Voices in Jason's head told him that he needed to get to New York in the next 12 hours, or Kony would win, whatever that meant. Then,
That maybe is a little irrational.
he stripped
though.
off all of his clothes and ran out into the street.
I was on a street in San Diego, totally naked and crazy out of my mind. Someone driving by in a car took a video on their phone, and they sold it to TMZ for $30,000. And then my naked and crazy mess went viral as well.
Some have said that he was jacking it, and that he was on
I mean, if you
drugs.
haven't slept.
Neither is true. It's just a very
And you're so
distressed man
stressed
having
out?
a mental episode.
Were you also masturbating? Did I hear that too?
No one who was there ever said that that was happening. I'm naked, so it's not a far extension of, imagination. But
He was taken to the hospital, not jail.
Police say when they showed up, they didn't see any of that and was taken to a local medical facility that he was not arrested of.
And there, he thought the staff were trying to kill him.
just one of those things where I'm like, I don't believe what you're saying. You're trying to kill me.
He ran around in his underwear, kicking in doors until eventually he was subdued and sedated.
You come back to yourself as you know yourself.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Whoa.
Yeah.
That was the right response, Oprah. That was perfect. That's what went through my head. Exactly. Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's crazy because I remember like the Kony2012 stuff happening and then being like, oh, it's all BS. But like, I didn't know any of this stuff. And it like, yeah, all that pressure from going from like, I'm just like trying to raise money and trying to raise awareness to like, what is the solution? What is the answer? You're not doing enough. All this stuff, not sleeping, traveling all over the place, doing these interviews, having all this pressure. It doesn't honestly surprise me that this
right. And
that he had a mental episode.
And that's why like it just shows the power too of like when you do something and it gets put out there and so many people see it and are influenced by it in any way, shape, or form, small or large, sometimes you have zero control over what the actual intended like message or response is, right? Because clearly, passionate guy, filmmaker, yes, fellow artist, like we understand the grind, the day by day grind.
It's not the intention; it's the perception that matters.
Right. And ultimately, here he is trying to, in his mind, especially do a good thing and bring some awareness to a country that otherwise really has zero to a lot of Americans. So, ultimately, I think that his goal was good, and I think that he believed it was good. But at the same, it's like when something goes that big, you lose all control, all agency of what that message becomes to other people.
Yeah, and obviously there were very valid criticisms.
Right,
so
right.
Well, maybe have been mishandled. Obviously, some of his previous content was a bit off the mark, perhaps. But yeah, it makes me all this pressure and not having time to fully figure it out. Yeah, it makes sense.
One Sharona Reed tried to sue Mr. Russell for the trauma of having to see him do naked calisthenics. As far as I can tell, though, that lawsuit went nowhere.
Can you think of anything else that's worse than running around naked going like this on TMZ?
Well, maybe one thing. While all of this was happening, the countdown to the day of action was still ticking. Thousands of kits had been sold. Get ready for an awareness campaign
this was
so
all
effective
before
you'll
that?
think you're living
Really?
again. The kids rolled out into the street. Selfie sticks and posters ready. Let's do it. Let's save those kids. We're changing the world.
Okay, the other thing real quick.
I didn't realize that was before.
I know. And the other thing that just kind of hit me in this just flash of brilliance again to the marketing campaigns. Think about the audience that is perceiving this: high school kids, people who are living out in the suburbs of America, people with access to resources and money to be able to spend $30 on getting their Kony 2012 box. These are all people who are dying and thirsty and hungry to rebel in any sort of way that they can, right? And express themselves in any way that maybe allows them to go outside the grain.
Yeah.
So that also contributed so much to the I mean,
I was just gonna say they chose to express themselves by misspelling here. So that's fun. I just noticed that when he paused it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's see how big this thing was, because that's crazy.
Oh, God, yes. But it wasn't all well intended. Some took it as a chance to vandalize their neighborhood with computers.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think there were posters
The adults
up
were
in my
left to
high
clean up
school.
the mess.
There were mine.
And despite the
think we did
impression you
a
might get
coin
from
drive
this
for
fancy
it.
montage, the turnout was abysmal. Here are some figures. Toronto, 50,000 people registered. Real attendance? 50. Sydney, 18,000 people registered. Real attendance? 12. Montreal, 4,800 registered. Real attendance? 0. Instead, they cancelled their event and put up a post calling Invisible Children a fraud organization. This is what 4 million Kony hashtags gets you. Now, I bet you want to know where Invisible Children, Jason Russell, and Kony are now. But before I tell you that, I want to go on 2 quick tangents of things I found while researching. In the Kony 2012 video, you'll see this guy, Louis Marino Ocampo, Chief Prosecutor for the International Criminal Court.
Those brows,
This would be the
bro.
organization that charged
Those
Kony
brows,
as a court.
Louis.
Well, in 2017, a bunch of Louis' emails were leaked, and they detailed one hell of a caper to catch Kony and bring him to justice. I'm not making any of the following up, right? Here's the plan. Lure Kony out of the jungle with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as bait.
Straight from a Hollywood
Sounds
movie,
great to me.
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt attempting to arrest an African warlord.
So it would go, the A-list couple would fly to the edge of the jungle where Kony is hiding and call him up with an invitation to dinner. Kony, starstruck, would of course say yes. He'd show up, presumably bottle of wine in hand and ready to mingle. Then, imagine his shock. It was a trap all along. Special forces would pop out from behind the salad bar and get their guy.
One idea appears to have been for Angelina Jolie to lure him to a private dinner where he would be arrested.
It was a foolproof plan, but unfortunately, it was never realized. Once Miss Jolie stopped responding to Louis' weird emails, Ocampo approached George Clooney for use of his spy satellite.
The chief prosecutor had also attempted to...
Wait, George Clooney has a spy satellite?
He's Batman. Duh.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. All right. Answered my question.
recruit George Clooney in a plot to fly spy satellites over Libya.
Yes, that's correct. George Clooney partnered with a satellite company to spy on al-Bashir of Sudan. Okie doke. Anyway, he responded that the satellite wasn't powerful enough. So then Ocampo moved on to his backup date, Sean Penn, whom he invited to the UN security meeting in South Sudan. What? And there were some people having fun with Kony2012 as well. Turns out Kony looks a lot like Carl Weathers in the movie Predator. So an idea was formed. Take this screenshot from Predator, post it on Facebook, and say how great he is without mentioning the name. Then wait for some slacktivists to immediately assume it's Joseph Kony. Then you call them racist. It was good for a few minutes of fun. Then they tried it on the official meetup pages. Promptly deleted. And
Loved that.
So get a load of this term. Carl Weathers fire shitstorm diaper hurricane, am I right, guys? Well, no. Despite all the mishaps and poor turnout, Kony2012 was a massive success. The goal was to make an obscure warlord in rural Uganda a household name. And
I'm the Wheaties box!
Reaching the hundreds of millions on a budget of about $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
Any marketing agency would kill for that. In fact, 7 years later, you probably clicked on this video because you have some vague notion of Kony and that video already.
Only
Now,
a little over $1
let me give you
million?
a very brief rundown on where everyone is.
That is
Then let's get out of
insane.
here. Invisible Children, outside of long-term and small-scale projects, they've largely ceased operations. Joseph Kony, he's still out there, but his army is shrinking and splintering. He is effectively in hibernation. And Jason Russell, he's no longer with Invisible Children. He's also been breakdown free since 2012, but he's still doing the activism thing. Look, I've had to gloss over so many details in this video, and there are so many more questions to be answered, but I don't want this video to be an hour long or to take 2 months more to make, so I'm going to round this one off with a Q&A on the second channel. What about that $20 million they raised? Why didn't the US military or the Ugandan military ever just bomb the shit out of Kony? What did Kony have to say about the video? All of these questions, and a ton more, plus any questions you may have of your own. Uganda want to see it.
Oh, man. Wow, that's nuts. Like, again, yeah, I have a vague recollection of seeing it pop up. I think seeing some posters and then, like, yeah, the next month being like, oh, it's actually a bunch of BS and people joking about it. But that is insane that they had such a huge response with a budget of just over $1 million. That's crazy to me. Initially, obviously, they raised a ton more money, but man,
yeah, it's I mean, like we've talked about from moment one, the marketing strategy was brilliant. Now it does also to quite some degree rely on that initial video, right? Going viral, the Kony2012 video itself. Like the whole campaign is fundamentally dependent upon that video and its success and its viewership. I was thinking back, and I remember, I think I was a junior in high school, like I said, and then I think I remember watching it actually in class in school, the Kony2012 video.
Really?
Yeah. It was this like American Studies course, and it like combined English and history kind of into one 2-hour long class. It was kind of interesting. But I think there was one day where I kind of remember sitting down with one of my favorite teachers from high school, Mr. LaFontaine, and watching this video. I don't remember if it was that class specifically, but I'm getting flashes of it. So no matter what, like that video and its impact and its reach even found itself into the public school system in the US, which is crazy.
Well, and yeah, it's just wild that all this stuff. Again, I think I say this after every internet historian video, but it's so fun to dive into these things that are like a blip in my memory and jump into it on a much deeper level and say, I had no idea that guy had a mental breakdown. Totally makes sense. That's so much pressure. Obviously, he took some liberties with the initial video, probably cut some corners to, who knows, try to make the story a little simpler. I don't know. Or maybe he just messed up, you know? But yeah, there were some glaring... But again, you look at his other videos, like there's no way he was anticipating getting the response that he got.
Sure. And again, the most shocking thing was all of that stuff happening before even the date of April 20th in 2012. That is wild to me that all of that happened. Like, talk about just someone entering the stratosphere of being a celebrity, right? Or being like
but for
viral.
like a week,
right?
You know, because
and then,
it's all
right.
It's like the news cycle; they're just caught up in it so quickly,
right?
But then it all burns away, like
right.
Talk about a hard lesson learned.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like an interesting and engaging documentary, but it was also media on a very tangible human rights issue, and that's why all the news media outlets covered it as well.
Which, I mean, there definitely is an issue with, you know, sort of Western perspective of, oh, we'll just go and fix it for these people, because that's not
right. A level of
that's a colonial way of thinking, and it, you know, obviously doesn't work.
Extreme naivete too, in terms of a perspective on the world, and it is. It's kind of in this weird way, also kind of a little bit of a discussion and realization on America or the Western sort of feelings of entitlement when it comes to involving themselves in business that they think they know about because they watched a 30-minute documentary.
Yeah, and obviously it got way out of hand. But yeah, just really fascinating stuff to kind of peek back into. So let us know. I would love to know if you're out there and you like went to one of these events or hung up flyers or anything like that. Let us know in the comments section down below. We'd love to know like your involvement or any stories you have with Kony2012.
Do you still, if you participated, do you by chance still have that original Kony2012 box? Like, do you have any of that merchandise? Because I'm even wondering, like, I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to go look on eBay to see if like anybody's like
still is trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Wild.
Very wild indeed.
Yeah, but hey, if you like us reacting to this video, we've also reacted to a number of internet historian videos and a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, go check it out. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time on Chicago Reacts.